Thank you very much, everybody, for joining me once again. My guest today is not a cricketer for once. He's a banker by profession, very famous name in the corporate banking industry within Pakistan. He's a former managing director of the Pakistan Super League. He had a very key role in the setting up of the Pakistan Super League. Many would say he was the brains behind the Pakistan Super League. In 2013, he stepped down from his role within the Pakistan Super League. And these days, I think he's somebody who can give us some expertise within the Pakistan Super League itself as to what's going well and what isn't going so well. I'm delighted to have today Salman Sarwar Butt. Salman Sab, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me on your show.
So, Mansab, let's start by, I've given a brief introduction about yourself, but if you could just tell the viewers about your role within the Pakistan Super League.
Okay. The Pakistan Super League actually came up as an idea back in 2011-12. And I had started my consulting practice, which I still consult the banking industry for. And the PCB reached out to us and wanted to do something similar to the IPL. So we did some research and got back to them with the structure of what a franchise league looks like. Obviously, the IPL took from the European Premier League, so it's a franchise league basically. But we just kind of got into the veins of it and put a presentation together for the PCB just to give them a feel for how a product like this works. We presented it to them, and they liked what we had to show, and then they said, "Why don't you come and sit and with us and develop this?" So it was 2012-13. This product was developed when Zaka Ashraf was the chairman at that time. And we launched the product actually at that time. And unfortunately, it couldn't come to fruition because there were elections coming up at that point in time. And then some of the media houses, international media houses in particular, one wanted to actually, buy out the entire league. And our proposition was against that. We wanted to run the version that is presently being run, which is what we call the do-it-yourself model, which means you construct the league and then you sell broadcasting rights, sell sponsorship rights, sell franchising, and then take it from there. So those were the couple of reasons why the league couldn't be launched back then in 2013. And then in 2015, the PCB wanted to kind of have another go at it, and they asked us to come in and work with them to launch the league. And that was the time that we were actually able to launch the league 2015-16. That was the first season. And so that's the history in short form for you. And today, it's now done 9 seasons, nearly ending the 9th season. So the PSL, as I see it, has done well in some parts, but then there are some parts that need some serious looking at if it has to go on and compete in the sort of global platform with other such leagues. So I think work needs to be done there.
What is going well and what isn't going so well, in your opinion?
So, if you look at some of the rights that are sold, for example, broadcasting rights, when we launched the league, there was no proof of concept, and like I said, there is this media is a mafia. So when they come to buy something like this, they will come in and first downplay a product like this, want to pick it up at low rates, and then and then run it, and they'll obviously make money out of it. So in the first 3 years, broadcasting rights were sold for $12 million for 3 years. And I think the last bidder that has picked up these rights has picked him up for $15 million a year. So broadcasting rights have appreciated. The central sponsorship rights have also appreciated. So the central sponsor bought the rights for I think $2 million or a little or around there for 3 years, and then they were revised upwards and then upwards. So central rights have appreciated, which means that broadcasters see value in it, therefore they pay more. Central sponsor sees value in it, therefore they're willing to pay more. And so when it comes to those couple of things, I think we've done well. Those are, you can measure them in monetary terms. You can also say that yes, to an extent, the franchisees as well as the PCB has learned a little bit from when we started to where we are today. So these are probably some of the benefits of the PSL. Yes, and the PSL has brought foreign players back to Pakistan, and that has helped trigger international tours also back into Pakistan. So that's one of the other benefits that the PSL has given to the country. The other thing is that the PCB has made good money because if you look at before the PSL was launched, cricket was the biggest sponsorship puller or revenue puller, marketing bucks puller in this market. And off the cuff, I would say cricket would pull for a year. International cricket would pull anywhere from 10 to 12 to $15 million of revenue for the whole year. PSL today, again, off the cuff, pulls in excess, which is a 21-day product, if I may, today as it stands, pulls in excess of about a $50 million commercial interest from the market. So these are all the positives that have happened. Now, areas of improvement. I think today, if you look at the PSL, when we started, there was the IPL, but then now we have the Bangladesh League, and we have this South African League, we have the American League as well, and then we have the UAE League. And then we already, had the Big Bash, which is a T20 league, and then now the 100 ball in England. So where do we stand today? I think if you just measure pay packages, we should have been right up there in terms of pay packages because we were one of the first ones to be launched right after not right after the IPL launched in 2008 and we launched in 15. But we should have been right up there, 1, 2, 3 in pay packages for players. Today, I think we're at number 5 or 6. And that means that the franchisees don't have the revenue stream to be able to invest more in players. And there are reasons for that, and we can talk about that. It's a franchising product. So if we look at the European Premier League, look at, I keep giving this example because this is a case study we did when we launched this product. Manchester United today has 33% of their revenue comes from franchising, which is apparel, licensing, and likes and likes and other like products. What are these? These are at that point in time when we were studying them, there were 250 different product lines that they had. Basically, they were monetizing their following. So all the way from co-branded Tic Tacs to luxury products, co-branded. So in 9 years, have we been able to do any of that, or have been able to get any of the franchisees to do that? Have we been able to get intellectual capital into the sports arena here and goad and guide the franchisees to do these sorts of things? That's where we've, I think, lagged behind, one, and therefore franchising revenues are zero. But franchising doesn't just generate franchise revenues; it keeps the product and the brand alive throughout the year. Because if I co-brand with a product provider, their product sells throughout the year, and my brand stays alive throughout the year. So that has an effect on tomorrow when I go and sell my t-shirt sponsor. I sell it for a certain value because I give them visibility throughout the year. So franchising hasn't happened. And that I've kept pushing, at least making my views very clear on this. Whenever I meet the franchisees, whenever I'm on a podcast, I'm very, very clear on this. And therefore, the revenue streams are not that high because of lack of franchising, in my view. Therefore, player packages are low, and therefore, the quality of players in version 9, foreign players in particular, is not A category. And that's serious. We need to really stop this. We need to ensure that version 10 has now A quality players coming in playing the PSL, and there has to be some short-term measures that need to be taken, but then followed up by more medium and long-term plans to generate revenues for the franchisees, by the franchisees. The other thing is, if you look at broadcast production, for example, that's another big piece. How 99% of the viewers view the product. It's broadcast production. Broadcast production has to be creative. It has to be out of the box. It has to have some innovation. It has to look world class. I think our broadcast production has gone back. This year, the broadcast production quality is just not there. If I measure it with, maybe a local product that has been broadcast, yes, there is a difference, but really not that much. So that's one. Number three is, you got to think creatively about how to get people into the stadiums. When we launched the PSL, it was novelty. People came in because this is a product that attracted them. Today, it's the same thing being repeated. So what are we adding to the product, to that client experience, for people to come in and get a more wholesome experience than just watching a cricket match? And that's something that we really need to think harder about. Karachi is a test case, because Karachi is not Lahore or Islamabad. These are, Karachi is a place where you have more than 30 million people living, huge middle class, busy people. They're working, different mindsets, and getting them to come into a stadium to just watch cricket is difficult unless you make it amenable, more engaging, easy to access, and all these sorts of things need to be thought through. So these are some of the areas that need to be looked at. And the bigger piece is, where do we want to take PSL going forward? How do we compete with the American League, with the UAE League, with the South African League? IPL is obviously right up there. But how do we do that? And we need to start thinking about that. We need to think about who our audience is. What do they want? And is our audience just Pakistanis sitting in Pakistan, cricket fanatics sitting in Pakistan? Is it Pakistani cricket fanatics in the diaspora? Is it beyond that? Is it sports-loving Pakistanis in Pakistan and all over the world? Is it even beyond that? Is it sports-loving people all over the world? And that's where we need to start then thinking, okay, how is our product going to look like to be able to get, our audiences engaged? So, Saj, that's the sort of thinking that it needs to be done to be able to get this product, at world class, because we are competing with now other world class products in this arena.
Touching on some of the points that you mentioned there, Salman Sab, it seems to me that the PSL is a 3-week product. The rest of the 49 weeks, it's not very visible. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, that is. I would go a little beyond that, because it starts with the draft. So, you kind of start building it up from the draft onwards. But yeah, I mean, it's just linked to the events that happen around the league. And that's something that, and that's another thing that I've been saying, that it's being run like an event. not like a franchise product, if I may. I won't even call it a league, not like a franchise product. Um, why is it being run like an event? Because the PCB has it knows how to run events. So they know how to do the test matches, the one dayers, the T20s, the bilaterals. That's their expertise. Give them you give them an event, they will organize the operations around it. But the moment you get to things beyond that, you get to marketing, you get to engagement, you get to all these things that I'm talking about. How do you engage people, get them to come into the stadium and watch a PSL event? Then it goes beyond their set of expertise, if I may.
Regarding the franchises, I mean, just using the shirt, like the replica shirts of each of the franchises as an example, I often get people asking me, are these available to buy in the UK or elsewhere? But they just don't seem to be available at all. And this touches upon the point that you made about the franchises and their sort of the lack of marketing and work that they're doing outside of the Pakistan Super League window.
Yes, it does actually. You see, I mean, again, people criticize me for referring to European big giants like Manchester United, etc. But that's the model we're following, right? So that's my go-to gold standard, and my measure is: are we making strides towards it or not? But we're not, because again, I mean, if you look at a Man U, it has a fairly huge management team that does marketing, product development, commercializing, franchising, and all of that, right? But if you look at our franchises here, the franchisees, if you were to look at their management teams, they're all trying to manage it by themselves. It's either in-house managed, or they've got people to manage them, but these are very small teams with limited capabilities. I'll give you an example. The Kolkata Knight Riders, the CEO of Kolkata Knight Riders is a C-suite corporate ex-corporate person. Used to manage, I think, insurance in the US and and North America, and also then in Asia. I mean, that's the call, and he's got an entire team of 6, 7, 8 C-suite people managing finance, commerce, product development, commercializing, marketing, and therefore they're able to deliver what they're able to deliver, right? Today, we don't have that here. And the franchisees neither are mandated to do it, nor are they, if I may, motivated to do it. Everyone's trying to just in-house manage things and develop their franchises. And therefore, this entire business side of the franchisees has not been, has not had much traction in the last 6, 7 years. In fact, the sponsors that came in to sponsor some of the franchisees in year 1 and 2 paid much more than they pay today, because they don't see value, right? They saw novelty there. They thought this was going somewhere, and they would get much more value, for a longer period of time. But when they saw that they didn't get that value, they pulled back and they came in at much lower prices. So, that's where the franchisees need to start thinking about their own way of developing their product. But the PCB also needs to think, because it's a national asset. The franchise is a national asset. It doesn't belong to anyone. You rent it. Either you rent it in perpetuity or you rent it for a period of time. Yet it's a rented property, and you have to develop it. There are some precedents that you need to set, which I think we know now that the franchise agreements are coming up for renewal. The PCB really needs to sit down and think through, where do they want to take this product, and how do they want to engage the franchisees in building these these clubs, if I may.
Touching upon the crowds and the lack of interest, using Karachi as an example, Salman Sab, the
Yeah.
crowds in Karachi have been absolutely terrible this time around. You know, many players, many former players have commented on it, and despite sort of the current players requesting fans to turn up, they are not turning up. Now they're citing facilities at the stadium and access to the grounds. Where does the blame lie, and how can this be improved?
I think it- I look at it a little deeper than this. People are showing up in Lahore. People are showing up in Pindi. I live in Karachi, so and I went to see the PSL game yesterday, by the way. So I know what living in Karachi means. I've lived here all my life, and going to the stadium and watching a game means. The stadium uh, Karachi is a huge place, so I have to drive 25 minutes to get to the stadium. If I have a VVIP pass, I'll be able to get in to the stadium and then have easy access. But if I don't, which 99% of the people don't, then they will have to park a little further away from the stadium and walk from there with their families. That access is they're walking the footpaths, at times the roads, and coming into the stadium. Not everyone is motivated to do that anymore, right? People are busy. Also, prices today are pinching people. So people will, you know, we are in an economic depression, if I may, and people are strapped in their budgets. So to come to an event and spend 500 rupees or 1,000 rupees to get a ticket to watch a cricket match, people are thinking twice. So you've got to think through, what do you want people to come in for? One, yes, you want to give them an experience. That giving an experience will take a little bit of time, but in the short run, if you want to get them in, who do you want to attract? You want to probably attract people in the general stands, people who can come in easy, pay low money, low gate money, come in, fill up the stadium so it looks good on the camera. It looks, there is good engagement. It goes out to the rest of the world. It sees that people are engaged. There are people who want to come, but for some, it's access and having to walk into the stadium. All the checks that have been put in place, people just don't. I mean, I've been asked. I was asked yesterday, "Do you have your ID card?" I mean, I have a ticket. Why do I have to have an ID card? But that's an extra tick. That's an extra check that has been put in. But I didn't have to walk. I was even bothered giving my ID card, but nonetheless, that's I'm just stating that as an experience. But somebody who has to park, then walk, then show their ID card, then get into the stadium, then not have the best facilities to kind of watch the game in, is it's not very motivating for people to come in. So yeah, I mean, so long story short, Karachi will always be pushing the needle. Uh, if you can get people engaged in Karachi, if you can get them to come in and watch the games, if you can create that environment and then replicate that in Lahore and Islamabad and other cities, you'll get chock-a-blocks everywhere else. And Karachi will test you with that, because Karachi is a different ballgame altogether. People here, it's not like the stadium is right next door, and it's not the biggest thing that is coming to my town. I have other things to do. And that's how Karachi, people in Karachi actually think, and that's how they lead their lives. So it's like a cosmopolitan, and one of the largest. It's the sixth largest city in the world in terms of population. So you got to start thinking how you're going to engage these people, which is opportunity at the same time. It's a challenge.
Scheduling seems to be an issue as well regarding the Pakistan Super League. It doesn't have the window that the IPL has. You've got limited overseas players available because of the international commitments. You've obviously got UAE leagues going on, the Bangladesh Premier League as well. So, I mean, this is an issue that many leagues around the world face. How can the quality of overseas players be improved upon, do you think?
I think, it's simple. If I'm a quality player, I'm being sought after, and I'll pick from, based on my preferences, but also based on the pay package, right? Our pay package has remained the same, pretty much the same, from version 1 to version 9, right? So yes, the franchisees do kind of, supplement that with further payments, etc. But it's not good enough right now, because today you've got, we don't have current players, top players coming in and playing. So scheduling, yes, scheduling is one, but I think the pay package needs to be increased. So, like I said, in the short run, the PCB will have to start thinking, okay, how can we subsidize that, right? How can we subsidize pay packages for season 10, right? And to ensure that we have good quality, much better quality players, current players coming in and playing, foreign players coming in and playing the league. We don't have a problem with local players. We have the local players to play, but foreign players. And then they'll have to think for how long they have to give the subsidy, but then how do they substitute that with a parallel stream of getting the franchisees and themselves to generate more revenues that they can put in a pool to start with, that makes the pool bigger for franchisees to pay more to the players. And then they can come up with things like, maybe for the top 2 categories, we had run a draft model. So maybe for the top 2 categories, we can run a bidding model, and that can kind of get some excitement going, better dollars for top players, and get them to start thinking about coming here. To be honest, money is really what will drag big players in, and I think that's something serious in the short run. These are the sort of things we need to do. Maybe subsidize the PCB raises in excess of $16 million the franchise fee every year. So there is some subsidy that can be given back to the franchisees in bringing in better players. They're already thinking of, they're already sharing a fairly high amount of central pool, which includes broadcasting revenues, gate money, and sponsorship. So that, I think, is good enough, but the PCB probably needs to take a little bit out of its own coffers and give it to the franchisees. But at the same time, make it now mandatory for the franchisees to start opening up certain revenue streams. Also, make it mandatory for them to have a certain quality of management, for them to, renew their agreements going forward. So, why isn't it that the PCB can now say to franchisees, listen, we want this quality of management. Please demonstrate to us that you will have this quality of management. Number one. Number two, if you don't, that's a condition precedent. We'll take the franchise away, right? At any point in time. So you need to put this quality of management. You need to show me a business plan. You need to show me a marketing plan. You need to show me a commercializing plan. We need to meet on a quarterly basis to see how those plans are being executed. I will monitor. I mean, when I say I mean PCB will monitor. What is the visibility of each brand in the market? So, I mean, these are the sort of things that PCB should bring in intellectual capital from outside. Maybe bring in somebody from the Yankees, bring in somebody from Manchester, from Arsenal, to tell us, okay, guide, help us on how to build a franchise club. How do you build revenues? I mean, this intellectual piece has stopped post selling the franchise teams, and when we did the first version, it's just stopped. So that should have happened season 1, season 2, season 3. We should have had corporate expos for franchisees. Bring in the broadcasters, bring in other franchisees, potential sponsors, get them to speak to each other, bring in valuation teams, get them to speak to a larger crowd. Just raise the level of awareness about how this franchise product is run, and then put some conditions that franchisees need to meet, and then the PCB needs to meet as well. So I think that's probably the way that if I was to say, this sort of league needs to be moved forward.
Finally, whilst there's been a lot of positives for the Pakistan Super League over the years, as I say, we're in the ninth edition at the moment. Going forward, well, speaking to ex-players, speaking to media, speaking to fans, they feel that the PSL has stagnated. It's almost reached a point where the improvements aren't there in terms of the broadcast. It's the same presenters, predominantly the same commentators. The level of interest seems to be reducing, Salman Saab. Is this a concern? Just briefly.
Very big concern. And the media here is talking about it even more and more now. So, especially on the social media, cricketers, etc., some very well-known media personnel, journalists, have been voicing their opinions very clearly that the quality has gone down, and broadcasting quality, player quality, stadiums not being filled, all these things has gone down. But I think, Saj, I mean, you see the symptom of something that has been brewing for a while. So this has been brewing for a while, and the symptom has started to show now. Also, I think people have started to look at other leagues. There are more leagues to see and compare. So that's why I say, we are now competing globally. We cannot think about, okay, if I just fill up the stadium in Pakistan, I've done my job. No, that's not it, right? How is a Pakistani sitting in Canada, in the US, in the UK viewing this league? How do they compare it when the MCL gets launched? How do they compare it when for the next season of the South African League, the 100 ball? That's the that's where the standards are being set. And so subconsciously you're comparing. When you say the broadcasting is not that standard, what are you really saying? What you're saying is, I see the Big Bash, I see the IPL, I see the 100 ball, and even the South African League. It just doesn't feel the same anymore. So yes, that's because those leagues are now backing themselves up with quality. And if we don't wake up now, we'll slide. And we don't want to slide.
So, Mansab, I really appreciate your time. Fascinating to hear your views, and very, very interesting regarding your thoughts and ideas, and how the PSL can be improved upon. Obviously, it's a national product. We're all very proud of it, but it looks like there's a lot of hard work ahead. So, really appreciate your time. Thank you very much, and all the best for the future.
Thank you so much, Saj. Pleasure having to be on your show.